everybody. Welcome back to the L1 show. It's Friday, June 16th, and we're here with AI and nonsense stories.
It's Friday.
Friday.
There's so much AI coming for all of our jobs. It's amazing. It's what a time to be alive.
And the people
I'd rather be dead.
the people who are piloting that apocalyptic vessel are recognizing that eventually we might turn on them because they're bringing about a horror onto society that we're not really sure where it's going to go. So they're taking some steps.
OpenAI CEO suggests an international agency like the UN's nuclear watchdog could oversee AI.
And I mean, if you wanted to put me on the head of that agency, like I wouldn't say no.
It was his argument also was kind of insane when you just take it out of context. It was, well, basically everybody in America is going to be able to have a portable nuclear accelerator in their living room. I mean, don't you think we need some regulation? And it's like, well,
What?
Also, some questions about sovereignty there, right? Because the UN shouldn't be in charge of anything. This seems like a very important thing to put them in charge of. I don't think he really cares. I think he's just trying to protect himself.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, literally anything that OpenAI can do to disrupt the rest of AI just cements their position as leader.
And he assures us that they're definitely not continuing to move forward as quickly as possible. I don't know if I believe that.
OpenAI is still not training GPT-5, Sam Altman says. They are, however, feeding a lot more data into GPT-4.
And we've learned that there's like a GPT 4.5, which is just playing games with versioning, right?
Yeah.
I've seen some hints that suggest that GPT-5 will actually just be a collection of these large language models that have been tuned for specific things like image generation or code generation or conversational things or writing books and poetry and prose and that kind of thing.
And we've learned one thing that tech companies like to do is they like to partner with little tiny companies and kind of pick their brains for ideas and then lowball them on a price. And if they say no on that price, they just steal it. It's kind of a playbook that's played out over and over and over. And Sam Altman wants to crush the fears in the AI world.
Sam Altman is in fact saying in private, of course, reassuring the developers that the company's technology will not compete with them beyond ChatGPT. Of course, ChatGPT is learning to do the thing that the tiny companies are doing, and so in that respect, ChatGPT is going to compete with them. It's like,
Now, he said that OpenAI would not compete with him. He didn't say that ChatGPT wouldn't compete with him. And OpenAI, if you recall, was created as a nonprofit.
and it was also open source, and it was like, we're going to open this for the good of humanity. And then they were like, wait, we can make a ton of money with this.
Yeah, they remember Elon Musk put a bunch of money into this, and everybody was like, oh, it's this beautiful future. And then they're like, wow, we have something really valuable here.
Yeah.
So they changed things a little bit.
OpenAI CEO says that they have no IPO planned due to the strange company structure. And also probably that no matter what the valuation is, they fear somebody just buying them.
Like Elon Musk did to Twitter. Also, he pointed out how much control and all these activist investors have over companies. He doesn't want to deal with that. I think that's the smartest move you can make. I mean, you're going to get the BlackRock telling you what to do.
Or the Saudi royals.
Why? Why even put yourself in that position? That's a smart thing to do.
He's putting himself in a position of leadership.
I mean, it would be smart for oil companies to start gobbling up all the AI stuff because oil.
And the Washington Post has done some human interest pieces on people who have in fact been basically invalidated by AI.
ChatGPT took their jobs. Now they walk dogs and fix air conditioners. It's a human interest piece, yeah. But, you read it and it's interesting. One of them was a copywriter. Like they literally used to write copy and now they work on air conditioners, which is an interesting transition.
What was funny is her name was Olivia. And when the company emails would go around, it's like prior to ChatGPT, it was like, let's get Olivia on this. Olivia needs to do this. Olivia is assigned to this. And then it started to be ChatGPT / Olivia should work on this. And then eventually Olivia was let go.
Yeah, a lot of clients don't want to pay for actual copywriting,
Nope.
unfortunately.
They pointed out, I don't know if we can see the chart here, but they pointed out there's Olivia. RIP. They pointed out I don't know, it must have been another story, but the jobs most susceptible to AI. And that kind of thing was at the top, obviously, because that's literally what the language model does. And CNET started using AI to write stories actually quite a while ago. There were some early adopters, and they're facing some criticism.
CNET is overhauling its AI policy and updating its past stories to be more clearly labeled that they were written by AI or written with AI assistance, as is often the case. Now, this article, which is from The Verge, but seems to have been written by CNET. I mean, not really, but that's kind of how it reads.
Probably the same parent company, right?
I mean, no, but maybe. I don't know. It's really interesting because some of the stories, they just used AI to write a preface, which is probably the least bad. Like if you're going to write a story about something and you need to read in somebody that's not up to the minute, maybe using AI is like summarize the current situation with, I don't know, what's that guy's name? Lionel Messi? Like, I don't know. Like, give me a summary for that. And then here's the new thing that happened with him signing a contract or not signing a contract. And then, the human writes the rest of it. Maybe that makes sense.
Give me a summary of Taylor Swift's relationship drama.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I don't know what, can I get a timeline of what, why is.
That's post 2021, Kristen. ChatGPT
Yeah, it
doesn't
won't know. Yeah.
It's going to be like, no, she's still happily involved with someone.
What's his face? Yeah.
We can never update the AI model. It must not know the horror.
They also pointed out that some of the revisions were to go back and correct the obvious lies that ChatGPT had told in those articles. Nobody checked.
It's a 24-hour news cycle. They don't have time to do it right anymore.
If you're writing for the web and nobody caught those kinds of errors, how sad are you that probably only bots are scraping your article and no human beings are actually reading it? They can't be bothered to contact you.
It's the internet by bots for bots.
I realized that I might have confused these two stories. I might have attributed these behaviors to the other medical story incorrectly, but I think it might also be just kind of similar.
Healthcare org with 100 clinics uses OpenAI's GPT-4 to write medical records.
This is the one where the doctor must see as many patients as possible, and you can opt in to let the AI write the
notes,
the records and stuff. And then this company is called Carby, because it's carbon health.
Oh, yeah. This one, well, rather than the other one, the way that the other one described what was going on is different than this one. This one, I might be wrong, but what I understood from it was that you would get a one-sheet summary. Like you've been seeing a patient for 5 years, and let's assume that you're a new doctor coming in. Can I get a one-page summary of these 5 years and hundreds of pages of medical records? And it would just do that with the important stuff.
Right, and I think that was the other one.
Oh, okay.
Right? Maybe not. One of them is customer facing, and the other one is so you can prep your research and do queries and stuff like that. But you don't got to write that query language. You can just write real world language, and the AI can go and do it.
And some of it seemed like it would be useful if the AI is mostly not infallible. Like, for example, it's like if you catch something in somebody's blood test, could you ask the AI, hey, in 5 years of history in this patient, has this been elevated in the past now that it's in a red line? And the answer to that might be maybe.
It's also going to be super convenient for the people who compromise that network.
Yeah.
And exfiltrate that data.
I don't know what's happened. Suddenly, all of my patients are getting this new Pfizer prescription. Like the AI is just thinking everybody should have this drug. What's going on?
And Stack Overflow, that's probably a company that's on a timer right now because their whole business model is kind of being replaced. I used ChatGPT a little bit for this kind of stuff recently. And one of my favorite things is like getting the code from ChatGPT and then implementing it and then going back and chastising it for where it got it wrong. And it's like, oh, you know what? You're right. I
made that
about
up.
that. Then it gives you another version. Sometimes you have to go through 2-3 iterations. It eventually gets it.
Stack Overflow moderators stop work in protest of lax AI-generated content guidelines. And your suffering is being incorporated into the next version of ChatGPT. I hope you know.
So the crazy thing, I guess, Stack Overflow, realizing this is sort of an existential threat, is afraid to go against the AI because they know all their users will run away. So the moderators are literally not allowed to moderate AI-generated content.
Even when it's horribly wrong.
I guess. And I don't even know how you would tell.
I feel like everything's just going to be useless because
It can only get worse from here because the AI generated content necessarily is going to have a worse signal to noise ratio than the non-AI generated content.
yeah, there's already a lot of noise on the internet. It's just going to get worse.
But the next generation will have some kind of a validation function where it can, boot up whatever the environment is that the question was about, and then maybe we can figure it out.
Well, that works for tech stuff, not so much for anything else.
Yeah.
And that points out the need to be able to identify what was created by AI. And of course, we talked about the EU regulation, what is now going to require that, or at least they're talking about that. But how do you do it? What do you do to detect the robots? And every answer we've seen so far is more robots.
Scientists claim that 99% identification rate accuracy of ChatGPT content, but they won't spill the beans on exactly how this works. It's got to be a lot of content.
So they say that they can get 99% for an entire article or multi-page thing. Paragraphs, I think it was like 87%, if you break it down to paragraph level. They point out that the AI uses language a little bit differently, and things like however, but, although, this, and because. And my favorite thing here, he starts his next line with however. Wonder if that was on purpose. That's exactly what I would expect ChatGPT to do.
Am I talking to a robot?
And the AI, we've seen AI optimize all sorts of things in industry, healthcare, and so forth, and find amazing things. We've had like the superbug story last week.
Yeah.
Now they have turned it onto C++.
AI system devises first optimizations to sorting code in over a decade. This is really cool, but because it was doing everything at an assembly level, they actually had to reverse engineer what the AI came up with to turn it back into C++. That was a reasonable algorithm. And that's when they realized that, oh, this is actually a different sorting algorithm than has been discovered previously.
And it's part of C++ now. It was good enough that they were like, yep, this is better. Let's use it. This is really creative. Krista, what's your feelings on this? I feel like this is amazingly creative.
I don't know if I saw this one.
Well,
That's a QR code.
QR codes, they didn't really catch on as a super popular thing, but they have their uses. And this guy said, you know what? I want to make these amazingly beautiful, but how do you do that and still keep it as a valid QR code? Well, of course, you use the robots.
Redditor creates a working anime QR code algorithm using Stable Diffusion. So you feed it a QR code, and then it'll give you an anime version of that QR code.
And without the big squares, you would be hard-pressed to say that was anything but just a piece of art, right?
Yeah, I would think. Have you ever been to a restaurant that has a QR code for the menu?
Yes.
Yeah,
That's annoying.
it is.
Although slimy menus are also annoying. Mostly anime girls, but I imagine you could make it whatever you wanted.
Yeah.
All these have a really Japanese flair to them too.
Yeah. Similar patterns and stuff.
And AI has done some amazing things. We have to argue whether they're good or bad. I don't think we have to argue about this one. This is a good result of the AI revolution.
RIP, Microsoft is finally killing Cortana on Windows.
Rip in peace.
Because it was always garbage. It was never not garbage.
But you weren't allowed to get rid of it.
Yeah, like the start menu. It's like anybody with half a brain can look at it and say, this is dumb. Why are we doing this?
Now, we recently had the big story where a lawyer decided to use ChatGPT. He did not check ChatGPT's work, and it was astonishingly wrong. Perhaps criminally, that's still playing out. But some judges are trying to be more proactive to prevent this.
U.S. judge orders lawyers to sign an AI pledge warning that chatbots make stuff up. Here's a document from the judge that I'm signing that says that AI can make stuff up.
And that I won't use it without checking its work.
Yeah. Though to be fair to that other lawyer, he did quote unquote check it by asking it, did you make this up? And he's like, no, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Seems like you should do a little bit more work than that, but
Fun times.
And the best story of last week, unfortunately, has been debunked. Although the debunking maybe could be crisis control. It's hard to know what to believe here. They did post the update before we did the story, but now they've walked it back even further to say that it basically was made up on the spot.
Air Force denies running simulation where AI drone killed its operator, saying that he misspoke. Like, yeah, well, I did say that. Because at first they said, you misheard me. And then they were like, okay, we got the recordings. And then he said, okay, I misspoke.
But it wasn't like just a little flippant thing on the side. He wanted some details.
Yeah.
So they're saying that this was the F-16 story. They were simulating drone F-16s attacking surface-to-air missile sites. And in his story, it got tired of losing points, so it destroyed the commander as a way to continue to get points. Turns out that might have been completely made up by the guy giving the speech. There was one person that pointed out it's like, when's the last time you ever heard the military admit that kind of failure?
Yeah.
So that does kind of make sense. And TSMC, they are getting on the AI bandwagon as well in order to push the envelope on those tiny, tiny transistors.
TSMC prepares for a 2-nanometer trial production using AI-assisted process. Interesting.
This is the gate all-around layout, and apparently the AI is really good at configuring those in a way that you can just pack them in there.
That picture looks like New York. It's all yellow. Canada.
The fab is just filled with smoke at all times for some reason. And this is a sad story.
What a verb choice by the editor of this story.
Yeah. But this is kind of inevitable. This is sort of like the electric car fires. Like they point out, well, a lot of gasoline cars catch on fire too. Well, a lot of gasoline cars do this as well every day.
Waymo robocar slays dog in San Francisco.
Slays.
They got the Waymo spokesperson said they got video of it. The car identified the dog and tried to stop, but could not stop in time.
Oh.
It sounded like they said encampment. I'm thinking this is like one of those homeless encampments where they've built up
So
stuff.
a homeless person lost their dog?
Well, I think they built their tents and stuff all the way to the sidewalk.
Yeah.
So there was no vision around the corner, and the dog ran out right in front of that.
And they had not identified the owner yet. So it might have been a stray.
The owner's probably afraid they're going to get in trouble because they were the one obstructing the sidewalk.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of times homeless people they'll do everything to keep their animal, and that's the reason they don't go into shelters. That's really sad if that was one of their dogs.
It's a sad story. And the actual robots, they get less and less play these days, but obviously you're going to mix in the AI and make them better, and that's kind of what they've done here. They've made this one learning.
Robot chef learns to create recipes from watching food videos.
Now, that's a hot headline, right? But when you read the story, not as exciting. Yeah. He was making salads. So they basically admitted chopping vegetables.
That's still, like, in terms of repetitive tasks I don't enjoy doing, like chopping vegetables is up there.
Yeah, a $10,000 robot would be a great addition to your kitchen.
I don't can that much.
And the Boston Dynamics Spot continues to get more and more powerful.
Boston Dynamics robot dog can now get through closed doors all by itself. Although it seems like it's on the struggle bus a little bit.
Oh no, it's a raptor. It's figured out how to open doors.
My cats can do that. And I love it when we create robots that do like not useful things.
Yeah.
And I guess this could be useful in some cases, but why? Why do we do this?
Scientists finally invented a robot that can sweat heavily. He's just like us.
Not just like us, I would say.
Clam droid.
Is sweating really the most effective way to disperse heat? Because in humid, high temperatures, that's not good.
They're using this to study how human beings sweat and dissipate heat.
The idea is it would probably be wrong for you to just throw some people out there and see what happens to them in extreme conditions. So instead you throw this guy out there and then he can feed back.
He can sweat.
Yeah, he can see how much the evaporative cooling actually defends against various environments.
He also pants when he's overheating.
They should make computers do that.
They basically do.
Yeah, I guess we've had that fan sound.
The fan controller.
Yeah.
You can always tell when Microsoft is downloading in the background.
Oh yeah, you got that The latest generation i9 that loves to run warm.
Yeah, and anytime if you're just sitting there watching a YouTube video and it ramps up, and you're like, "Wait a minute, what's going on here?" And the arts are a place where AI is not always a big participant, but they're looking to change it.
Robot to conduct orchestra for the first time in Korea.
I often wonder. Here's an engagement challenge for those of you in the orchestra world. How much time do you really spend looking at the conductor rather than looking at the music?
Brian Gooseling could probably tell us that.
I don't trust him.
I would think. Well, I think the conductor's more just to kind of like
Keeps everybody in sync.
keeps everybody in sync. But like you should just be looking at the music a lot of the time. I think.
I don't know. See,
Yeah.
that's why we need feedback. But there is actually going to be a backup conductor, a real conductor.
They should just
So-
leave. No, they should just let it go.
I don't think they're confident
Yeah.
in that. Moving on to just a little bit of space news. We have some bad news from Boeing.
Boeing finds 2 serious problems with Starliner just weeks before launch, so they've delayed the launch.
It's a balloon. That's the image.
Well, the parachutes are one of the problems. They are not confident that the parachute cabling will actually support things in the event of a catastrophe. The other problem they have is some tape that they used to defend the fuel cables and stuff against nicks and tears. Turns out flammable.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That Amazon Basics tape. Can't skimp on that.
It was supposed to be made out of asbestos, but apparently that's been outlawed.
We previewed this one with the government section, but this was a hot story that a lot of people had a lot of fun with this week.
Intelligence official, I've corrected the headline for you, say that U.S. has retrieved craft of non-human origin. Just the one.
No, he says he's been doing it for years.
Well, only one is on record as saying that we have retrieved.
Oh, one person, you mean.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
multiple crafts. And he claims it's not just the United States. How much of a global conspiracy?
I don't believe that our government can keep a secret, let alone multiple.
Oh, they've got plenty of secrets. But it just seems weird that everybody, like as much as we're butting heads with all other countries,
Yeah.
but we're going to invade Ukraine, but we're going to keep the secret on the UFOs. Don't worry about that.
We did a pretty good job keeping secrets around the nuclear program.
Oh, we've kept a lot of secrets. But we will get the congressional hearing on this. So more to come in this drama.
I'm imagining, like every other congressional hearing, one of them's just asking the alien corpse a question.
Engagement challenge. If this is confirmed, how will it change your life? Comment below.
It's going to have some wild implications for religion, right? How did they miss all of that in those texts?
I would just be interested in just the history. It's like, okay, on your planet, what happened when social media was invented? What,
Assuming you can even communicate with them.
like, did you ever have a world war? What happened after that? Was there another world war? What happened when you invented fusion?
They might not have a word for war. Maybe they're not a warlike people.
Well, you got to wonder. That was June 5th, I believe, was the date on that story. So that guy put his stuff out maybe the day before that. And then a couple of days later, did these people see a news story and just get a little crazy? Yeah.
Las Vegas family claims to see aliens after several reports something falling from the sky.
The thing that makes me question this is they claimed that when they were on the phone with 911, they were still there. They described them as 8 or 9 foot tall creatures. Did nobody in that family have a phone in their pocket?
Maybe it's like Bigfoot. It's just blurry.
We have videos of everything. Now, I don't think they've had, we have police cam footage, body cam footage, but that's after the fact. And there's nothing there. There was a burnt spot in the yard. That's all they've seen. So we have videos of everything now. How did you not get your phone out and shoot the aliens?
How crazy would it be if an alien craft landed there because they detected a signal and they thought that was the welcome committee, but in fact it was somebody's 1950s Zenith radio that was malfunctioning?
Why would they have missed the Zenith radio for the last 50 years or 70 years?
It only just started malfunctioning that way.
Now, we've already talked about the darkness in New York as well, but a couple of days later after that original story, it actually got even worse.
New York's air quality reaches hazardous levels, by far the worst in the world. Yeah, it's pretty bad.
It does look apocalyptic, doesn't it? You can barely see the skyline.
Apparently, everyone whipped out the old masks again to keep the particulate out.
If one of those big volcanoes goes, like the Mexican volcano,
Oh yeah,
that
that's
would
rumbling.
just be like life for everybody. That's gonna be real bad.
What happened to that? I remember we did a story about it, but I haven't heard any updates. I guess it's not exploded. So
Didn't do anything exciting, so we didn't get another story. And Canada had some interesting timing. Now, Canada is the source of all this horror. They are blowing smoke on us. And it turned out that they had a special day coming up that did not work out well.
Canada marks Clean Air Day with the worst air quality in the world as feds consider a disaster response agency.
I feel so bad for Canada because I feel like maybe it's just because I'm in America, but I feel like every story we do, it focuses on the impact on America. Like even that story had a picture of Joe Biden in the headline. It's like, well, can't we show like Canadian stuff? Like,
remember that the pandemic, the prelude to the pandemic was the Australian wildfires. What is the Canadian wildfires prelude to?
some
The
new
aliens.
fresh hell. Yeah.
The aliens stopping by to be like, by the way, we're going to put in the highway soon. You've missed your appeal period. Sorry.
And here was an interesting story about a man who was pushed too far. And he apparently lost some kind of judgment on his home and did not want to go quietly.
Jury convicts Oregon man who rigged home with Indiana Jones style booby trap, injuring federal officer. I actually tried to find out. So he lost his home in a lawsuit.
They didn't give details, did they?
No, and I tried to Google it, and I found another guy by the same name, but he was in Arizona, and the guy from Arizona, like his dog got loose and bit somebody, and it's like that seems like a lot to lose your home over, especially when you're, 70 years old. But I don't think it was that.
This also happened in 2018. He's just now getting convicted of it. But
Wow.
he really went a long way here. He had a car, so it was a gated property. In the front gate, he had a car or van parked there, blocking access. There were 2 booby traps. Booby trap means grenade, right? Explosive triggered something. I think booby trap means that.
Oh, I always just assumed it meant like any kind of trap, like
Pretty sure it's a
like Home Alone-esque.
explosives engagement challenge.
He was handling explosives when he was not supposed to, but one of the booby traps was just a hot tub on its side.
Well, that was, yeah, right. So the gate was the 2 explosives. The bomb squad disabled that. They went up the hill. There was a tripwire that would drop
A boulder?
no, it was a jacuzzi.
Oh.
That was on its side.
Like a boulder.
So,
Yeah.
And I imagine it was a like tree line.
Yeah.
So there was nowhere really to go and it would roll towards you. And then
My worst nightmare.
they detected that and disarmed it, and I don't think it triggered. And then they went into the house. He had a shotgun on a tripwire, and that got one of the feds in the leg.
Wow.
Now, for a 71-year-old, I think this article, it's criminal how ambulatory this 71-year-old apparently is.
And creative.
Yeah.
I bet he's doing a lot of interesting things in prison with all those skills. And this one, I really, really hope there's a follow-up. I want to know more about what could have possibly led to this.
Scantily clad witches caught munching on deer carcass in bizarre security cam
I
footage.
think the answer is meth, right?
Why would I? Okay, then why naked?
That's a good way to get chronic wasting disease.
And they're not naked. They're wearing, like, it looks like some sort of ceremonial type of deal. So what happened is this is on somebody's property. And they noticed that the deer had died, and they were like, "Oh, okay, well that's sad, but it'd be interesting. We'll put the trail cam up, and we'll see what eats it. We get to witness nature." And instead, these gals showed up. You have to prepare for this kind of thing, right? You have to do a costume change at some point.
Oh, I thought you meant the homeowner. I was like, how would you prepare for that? How would you ever think that would happen? Oh, it is like a weird costume. Weird. There's a lot of photos in this article.
Are they feral? Feral people? I believe it was Florida.
They look very similar. Do you think they're sisters? They also pointed out that they thought those might be wigs. I don't know what they were basing that on.
Wow, imagine how embarrassing that is. You get in the news and they're like, wow, their hair's so ugly, it's probably a wig.
I don't know.
Some people have floated the idea that they are skinwalkers.
Oh, yeah. Well,
listen, aliens are in the news. Maybe, you know what? Screw it. Maybe that's what the wildfires signify.
Wow. What if it's aliens versus skinwalkers and we're in the middle?
Ugh.
They've both decided to reveal themselves at the same time. I always love a good police misconduct story. This one is pretty horrific.
Widow whose husband was killed by speeding Ontario police officer told the misconduct was, quote unquote, not serious.
Now, they said, listen, we know that sounds a little cold, but the reality of the situation is it's not that we don't think that it's serious. It's that if we don't label it as non-serious, then an outside investigator has to get involved. And we've investigated this ourselves. And so that's why it's not serious, because we're not going to do anything about it. It was kind of a weird situation, though. This fella was crossing a highway at night for some reason. But they do know that the cop was doing 12 kilometers over the limit.
Mm.
So.
Odd.
She was breaking a law. I don't know, is it legal to run across a busy interstate?
You're not supposed to do any kind of, at least in Kentucky, I've seen signs. It's like no pedestrian foot traffic.
Well, this is Canada, though.
Yeah. In a divided highway, it's not okay. But if it's not a divided highway, then it's okay. Which is why
limited access.
Oh, if it's limited access, that should be fine.
No, limited access means you're not allowed to have pedestrians and farm equipment and stuff like that.
Oh, like a divided highway.
I don't know if they're always divided.
I thought you meant the road was limited access.
Yeah. Look, you're not allowed to take your tractor onto the interstate.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's a limited access. But again, it's Canada. So who knows what kind of insane laws they have. Mount Everest, you guys ever have any desire?
Absolutely none.
You're a big hiker, though.
Yeah, but is that really hiking if you have someone else carry all your crap up?
Well, that's the big question here, isn't it?
Yeah.
Everest climber thanks sponsors and blocks the Sherpa who saved his life.
There's a video. The Sherpa had some kind of camera on him, I think. This guy was literally dying. And the Sherpas, they didn't work for him. They were doing another climb for another person. And they're like, no, this guy's dying. So they wrapped him in a sleeping bag, put him on his back. This guy couldn't walk at all. And trekked him 6 hours back down to the base station where a helicoptered him to medical attention. And for sure he would have died otherwise.
Right.
Madness.
He gets home, does a press conference. He's like, I want to thank my sponsors and the medical team.
Not the man who carried you for 6 hours down a mountain.
Not only that, some people started questioning him on social media, including the Sherpa himself, and he blocked them.
Not a good look.
No.
I mean, climbing Everest is kind of a rich asshole.
It is, because like there used to be a time, I think, at least from what I understand, is that like there was a time where you actually required mountaineering skills to do it because there wasn't a whole tourism industry around it. And now it's just if you can pay the money and then stand in line.
And also, you're saying like, oh, look how rare and amazing this talent is that I have. But there's literally a guy who's not making much money at all who can do it with you on his back.
Right.
Maybe the sponsor should sponsor that guy, the Sherpa.
There you go.
Yeah.
Monster Energy, are you paying attention?
And we see more and more that we're getting into the realm of messing around with the human brain.
Scientists zap sleeping humans' brains with electricity to improve their memory.
Now,
Thanks.
This was people with extreme epilepsy, I think, right? And that was disrupting their sleep. And they believe that some of this might have to do with like, just if you have bad sleep, that's going to snowball and be real bad for your memory and everything about you. They're also thinking that maybe Alzheimer's has something to do with your sleep. And Krista, little anxiety.
Just a little.
If you're feeling it, well, you can blame these little guys right here.
Microglia Mystique, newly discovered brain mechanism linked to anxiety and OCD.
Is it hereditary? Do we know yet?
We don't know about in humans, but what we do know is that in mice, we can mess with this and we can make them either more chilled out or insanely anxious and apprehensive. Something. I'm worried that tech companies might tie that to advertising.
Yeah. It's like, oh, are you anxious about something? Why don't you buy our product?
Well, it'll be an advertisement where you just see 3 or 4 images with no apparent explanation, and then the messaging follows because the images in most people trigger whatever that mechanism is.
Or one of those high pitch,
Yeah.
like you're in the movie theater.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, and then the product comes up and you feel good and you're like, oh, Doritos.
Could use some Doritos.
I'm so relaxed. And this is a situation we've seen a lot of, but usually the genders are in the opposite configuration.
Marriage or love in the time of AI. Woman creates and marries AI-powered chatbot boyfriend.
Why would you create a boyfriend who has better skin than you?
Well, he's, I don't know if she chose what he looked like. This is a company that creates these people for you.
It's sort of the reverse Hatsune Miku AI bot.
It's literally that,
Oh,
right?
yeah, it is. It's that, but just with not an anime avatar.
She says they want to get married, and when I saw the headline, I think she mentioned something about a baby.
Yeah, she was expecting a baby soon. It's just like,
I'm not sure how you explain that. Unless that's Jesus.
Oh.
I don't know. And Japan, they have, we have the Protestant work ethic here, but we got nothing on Japan. They are all about that massive work week, and your entire life is controlled. And in fact, there is no escape in some cases, which has created a cottage industry.
in Japan, embarrassed employees pay agencies to quit for them.
So apparently if you try to quit, they're just like, you haven't worked here long enough for us to make our money back on hiring you. You cannot quit.
That sounds like slavery with extra steps.
Well, these companies, I think it costs something like $100, and they will go and do it for you. Yeah, 20,000 yen, which is $144. I would love to be the guy that goes and quits for everybody. How much fun would that be?
That would be kind of fun because you don't really have any skin in the game, so you can be as big of a jerk as you want.
Turn over the water cooler on the way out.
Yeah. Steal some food out of the snack room.
And we have to do our weekly PR bond story.
A man awaiting trial on suspicion of stealing a police car stole another one, police say.
There are cameras in these cars, obviously.
Yeah.
And they said that he was laughing as he stole the second one.
Man's committed.
It's a bold move. There was also the police chatter. They printed it here, and the guy was like, someone took my squad. It's the same guy.
How embarrassed are you? You go in the break room to get a donut, and all the other cops are laughing at you.
Like that whole week, they'd be moving your car around in the parking lot to mess with you.
It's probably not going to be too long before there's an AI bot in those cars that's like, wait, you're not my regular driver.
It's, facial recognition. It just doesn't start.
Yeah.
And, of course, another week, another San Francisco going to hell story.
Well, this one's kind of heartbreaking. San Francisco is now worse than Afghanistan, immigrant store owner says, after losing $100,000 to burglars. So burglars broke in, and the police just didn't respond. And they had a lot of time to ransack the store and also steal $20,000 in cash.
Something tells me he was not a fan of the banking industry.
Yeah.
The name of the store is great. It's a tobacco store, and the name is Cigarettes Are, just a letter R, like Toys R Us, cheaper. Not that they're cheaper here.
Just that they're cheaper in general.
I guess we imply that. But yeah, he talked about, he said that at least in Afghanistan, the Taliban would cut your hands off if you did stuff like this. And the online murder hitman websites, I think those are all just honeypots at this point.
They have to be, right?
And,
who would do that? But
the people keep getting caught up in it.
Tennessee woman allegedly paid to hire a hitman to kill wife of her dating match.
she was the side piece. The Tennessee woman was the side piece.
Not necessarily. The guy wasn't necessarily with the other woman at first. They became hiking buddies. So they were like having fun hiking, but they might not have necessarily been romantic. And then one day he was like, oh, hey, I want you to meet my new wife, fiance. We're leaving the state and going somewhere else and getting married. And she did not want her hiking buddy to be disrupted.
No.
So she decided to have the woman killed.
As you do, when you have proper attachments to people, you'll do anything
She
to prevent them
also,
from leaving.
she hired the job, and I don't know if there was necessarily, they didn't say whether or not it was cops on the other end, but somehow they found out. And then it wasn't getting done in time. And here's her post.
I have waited for 2 months and 11 days, and the job is not completed. What is the delay? When will this be done?
I'm so sorry. We have other clients right now. Your call is very important to us.
Your murder is very important to us. That's a title. And we've heard before of like drive-through drug dealers. And I always wonder how, like, if you mess that up one time, you're done.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like that what happened here. It seemed like this was just a little case of Butterfingers.
New Mexico woman finds cocaine on Sonic hot dog.
How do you have Butterfingers with something as expensive as cocaine?
How did she know what it was?
It was in a little baggie. And she took it to the cops and had it tested. But they
Just donut sugar.
obviously everything on Sonic at Sonic is on camera. They went back. They found him buying it from a Sonic customer because, you drive up in the little bay and they went out and bought his cocaine. And then they note that there was a 5-minute frantic search after he had delivered that order. He did not mean to put it in the hot dog.
Oops.
It's got to be a sinking feeling, huh?
Yeah.
Moving on to the animal section. Here's a sad reality. Although I guess these cows were probably heading this way anyway, right?
Irish government to slaughter 200,000 farting cows to fight climate change. They'll be made into steaks, don't worry.
I think these might be dairy cows, though.
Yeah.
So not steaks.
Well,
They reach a point where I think
they reach a point where they can't produce milk anymore.
I just can't imagine that they're more of a problem than a lot of other things. And
Yeah, certainly.
when we announce these kind of things, maybe that's what leads to this kind of backlash.
Runner hospitalized after being attacked by cows on Colorado Trail. Aggressive cattle have been recently charging runners on a popular path.
This is a 500-mile trail in Colorado.
Is that one of your dream trails?
I don't know if I could do 500 miles, maybe.
What would you do if you were attacked by cows?
I usually keep my distance from any kind of animals when I'm on trail, so I feel like you'd have to be pretty close for it to...
You going to go off trail to like try to get around them? What if you go into and like you find the bull in the field doing that?
Well, yeah, but you try to avoid the animals because there are parts of like the Sheltowee Trace that go through cow paddocks as well, and it's always like don't go anywhere near them. Most are friendly, but
they believe that the baby cows were what triggered this response.
oh, that would make sense.
One woman described running and like feeling the nuzzles as they get like they got close enough to touch her, but she got away. I thought that was fun for the cows.
Interesting.
And here we have the old Jurassic Park story.
Life found a way.
Perfectly told.
Crocodile found to have made herself pregnant.
Willed herself into pregnancy, manifesting.
So this gal has actually never even seen another crocodile. She's been in captivity her entire life by herself. And boom.
And now she's got a bunch of little baby crocodiles to take care of. What a nightmare.
At least one. And it is 99% genetically similar to her. So she basically has a little clone baby. This happened in 2018, but that egg was not viable.
Interesting.
This one is 99.9%. I guess the other is just a mutation.
Oh.
Interesting. And I can't imagine the word cattery. I don't remember ever hearing that before.
No.
I don't know what a cat. I guess we just call them shelters here.
Would
right?
that be? Are they talking about maybe like a cat cafe?
No, not necessarily.
Ashford Cattery plans approved despite fears of loud meows. So this is a cat shelter in a residential area, and some people were saying, I don't know, the cat's probably going to meow a lot. Okay.
Cricket's pretty noisy when he is hungry, but he doesn't meow that much. It's not that loud.
My cats meow around the clock. I realize that I've become, how people when they're out in public with their kids and the kids are
they
screaming,
just desensitized.
and they don't care.
Yeah.
I've kind of gotten to that place with my cats. Although every once in a while I'll scream at them. They don't care.
Scream back, yeah. Yeah, Cricket got a little of that yesterday. He kept meowing in my face while I was trying to do that write-up for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, you have to go away. I can't think straight with you screaming in my face right now.
Did he follow your rules?
No, he had to be put in the laundry room for a little bit.
Oh.
Meow.
And finally, maybe the happiest animal story. I tried to sort that to the end.
Yeah.
Zoe, the lab mix, breaks the record for longest tongue on a living dog.
I had to question it though, like how if it was a non-living dog.
I think the previous record, there's a longer record for a dog that is now deceased.
But I mean, couldn't they have just measured it before it died?
No. I mean, they did probably. It's just that
The dog's passed.
Oh, a current dog.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
That's not much of a record, is it?
Yeah.
But that is quite a tongue.
Cute, yeah. Cute dog.
How often do you think it accidentally bites it?
Longer than a soda can. That's a very American headline.
It's in Louisiana, which means that dog will not be visiting certain websites.
Look how happy.
How disgusting that tennis ball is.
Oh, those are all good dogs.
What about Rue? What's her tongue length?
I don't know. Probably pretty average, I would say.
Does it hang out a lot?
When she's hot or if she's playing, yeah.
I guess that is way more cooling than most dogs have, right?
Yeah.
It's like having a really big heat sink in your mouth.
Interesting.
Good dog.
I had a story that I was going to try to remember to put in here, and I didn't.
Netflix subscriptions.
That's it.
Right.
I checked mine last night after I read that story. I can still get in.
Don't say that.
Just FYI.
What are you doing? Well, the story was how disappointing all of you Americans. They've already increased the subscriber count because when they turned on the account sharing limit, everybody signed up.
There's not even anything good on Netflix anymore. They don't have Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Disgusting.
They have stuff that I like binge watch from like old days, like Community, but I mean, I could just watch that elsewhere.
If you are a Netflix subscriber, especially if you're a new subscriber because you just got cut off from password sharing, I want you to take the next 15 minutes and think about what you've done.
What kind of a dystopian hellscape is it that, it's like, oh, we're putting this TV show back in the vault, or this agreement has expired and we can't carry this TV show anymore. It's just it's dumb. It's like, oh, the book has disappeared from your bookshelf. Sorry.
It's a sad future. We'll be here next week to bring you more of it. Bye!